I've got the privilege of speaking to you guys here today about innovation and the food and fibre sector. So I thought I'd start by just telling you a little bit about me and why I'm here. I'm the chair of a company called Meadow Mushrooms. It works in the horticultural space, and given where you're located, I'm sure you all know it. And the founder of another company called Food Nation, which is a new startup. It's been going for about a year. We just launched a few months ago, and it's all plant-based food. So my background has been in food marketing for years, and general management. I've worked in led innovation teams across wine, across hort, across dairy, and I love it. I think it's absolutely fundamental to the success of the category or the sector, and I'm delighted to be here today to share some of these experiences. So I'll kick straight in. So defining innovation. There's probably three key things I want to talk to you about around innovation before I tell you a little bit about our experiences. In terms of defining innovation, often people go straight to the product conversation. This is a model Larry Keeley did, looks at 10 types of innovation, and the centerpieces, which are the offering you'll see, is where everyone's mindset goes to when you talk innovation. But I just wanted to put it out there that actually innovation can take place at many different aspects in the business. And what all the research actually shows is the people who make the most money out of their innovation tend to operate at the either ends of the spectrum. So when you're being challenged with innovation and the process that you've got to go through in the next wee while, think about the different types of innovation that you could bring to the conversation and how you could approach the challenge that you have. So that's the first point I wanted to make. The second is the importance of really understanding the problem. This is probably one of the most important things that I've grappled with, learnt to deal with, understood the importance of in the past few years. It's very easy to come up with a solution that utilizes your product to essentially to retrofit your product into a customer need. It's much harder to really understand and interrogate what is the job your customer needs to have done for them. What's the service? What's the product? What's the problem that you are solving for them? So I would encourage you to work really hard on defining the problem, not defining the solution. And as suppliers, and I've always worked on the supply side, it's really, really easy to see great ideas that you love and things that you can do. So, when we talk volume to value, we start immediately with thinking about product innovation. But actually what we need to think about is where do customers see value? And therefore, how can we deliver that value? And then look back at how, where in our industry we can source that. So define the problem very, very clearly and know who your customer is and what it is that you are solving for them. The third thing, and this seems particularly relevant in this day and age, is really, from my perspective, I'd call it the Medici effect, which is a well-known book that talked about how bringing paradigms from one industry and another industry together often opens up opportunities. At the moment, we're fed a huge amount of data. We have access to so much through the internet. But what happens is we also have access to, or a lot of algorithms are defining what we see. And I would suggest that they are narrowing what we're actually being exposed to, and that's very dangerous. So often innovation comes from the collision of different ideas and different experiences. So be really careful of those algorithms. Look really widely. The design thinking kind of methodology where you go out and test and you trial and you ask lots of different people questions is a great one. But you've got to make sure throughout whatever process you go through, you're not talking to people who basically substantiate your beliefs and have the same set of experiences. If you don't find some people saying what a dumb thing it is, you're probably asking the wrong question, or you're asking people who are already converted to your way of thinking. So look widely, be careful of the algorithms, challenge yourself to go out of the norms of that sector or category that you're operating in. It's an incredibly effective way of really innovating. So those are the sort of three skills that I would shout out about, or the three key things. Think about what your innovation is, understand your question, and source your ideas and impetus from lots of different places. So I'm going to jump into Food Nation just for very briefly and tell you a bit about this. as an experience of volume to value. So Food Nation is a new business. So we started it off the premise that actually we want to do something for the planet. And when we understood that diet was the number one thing that could change planetary outcomes and health outcomes for humans and the planet, and yet we weren't seeing people changing how they ate. So plant-based always seemed a very weird statement to me. We don't say that a piece of steak is meat-based. So why, when we're making things out of plants, should it be plant-based? But I think that reflected the fact that a lot of the products coming into the market were mixing and mashing technology and science to create something that derived from plants and wasn't a celebration of plants. So our proposition and the problem that we were trying to resolve and assist customers with was they wanted to eat more plants, but they wanted it to be easy. And they wanted to be in formats that they knew. And they wanted to be products that they recognized, not some kind of engineered process. And there was nothing in the market. So we took that issue and said, okay, we're going to make sausages because everyone eats sausages. They're super easy. And we spent the first 4 or 5 months trying to create essentially a mushroom sausage. And we got to a point where we hit all sorts of challenges around production, and we pulled in technology from all sorts of different areas to help us make a plant-backed and mushroom-based sausage. We got to when did we get to? We got to Christmas. We'd sold these products. They were listed on Jess's Underground Kitchen's website. It was great. We couldn't make them. That was less good. And the ones we made were flat and disgusting and used a casing that was made that was entirely vegan. So that was great, but it was 5 times the cost and didn't work. And so functionally wasn't as good. And we went to see my food bag. And just before we went in, I said, why don't we try these as minces? Because I've just been given a mince and it was much more useful. And at that little pivot, they said, we don't want sausages, we want minces. Took us down an entirely new pathway. And we did a huge amount of customer research. And the reason we had said sausages was because people wanted things they already knew. When we tested minces, our magic minces were the first products we launched. And when we tested the magic minces and at a consumer level, the feedback was absolutely overwhelming. Everyone except me, was excited at the prospect of magic minces because they solved their biggest problem. They're versatile. They could be used in so many different meals. They're 100% plant. We use a lot of mushrooms and chickpeas and other vegetables. But it wasn't, if I had been stuck in the paradigm, which was sausages and all those kind of formats, and this is how we were going to do things, it never would have worked. For me, something called magic mince sounds really unexciting relative to something that could be a beautiful gourmet sausage or patty. But it's absolutely what the customer wanted. And that willingness to actually really listen and keep evolving, and the amount of change that we have made in the last 8 months is just mind-blowing. And it's all been derived from understanding what the customer wants and working really hard to improve that, whether it's shelf life, the size of the vegetables within there, the cookability, the flavors, and now we've got balls and patties, which is all derived from understanding our customers. So I've got 10 minutes. That's probably 10 minutes, but I wish you all the best. This is a really exciting sector. There is so many opportunities and so much fun to be had. So go out there and do great stuff, and I look forward to seeing what you create. All the best.